revelation from where I sit, because clearly she was trying to put huge pressure on my bosses to take action against me.
Why else are you being sort of suspicious and secretive around labor and birth? And people theorized and claimed that the couple needed time to stage a story because Meghan didn't actually deliver the children.
Piers Morgan is back at it again, and this time he's poking the hornet's nest that never really went away: the long-running online debate about Meghan Markle's pregnancy timeline and the way the Sussexes manage the public story around it. Whether you love Piers or can't stand him, he has a talent for finding the one subject that guarantees maximum chaos, and then he walks into it like it's a hobby. When Meghan's first pregnancy was announced, it was framed like a perfect modern royal moment. Big smiles, carefully staged photos. But almost immediately, a chunk of royal watchers started saying the visuals didn't feel consistent. At first, it was small and easy to dismiss. People pointed to angles, outfits, lighting, posture, normal stuff. Then it kept happening. The bump looked higher in one appearance, lower in another. Larger one week, noticeably different the next. And once people start screenshotting and comparing side-by-sides, it turns from probably nothing into why does this keep repeating? That's where the comparison game kicked in. People brought up how Catherine, Princess of Wales, did the classic post-birth hospital moment.
Catherine, Princess of Wales, at the time Duchess of Cambridge, appeared outside the Linda Wing Hospital hours after giving birth, in heels and smiling and holding her newborns.
Smiling with the baby, public-facing, very traditional royal optics. Meghan and Harry were clearly going for something different, more controlled, more private, less open access. And by itself, that's not some crime, but when you choose heavy narrative control, you also create a bigger trust problem. People expect the story to be clean because the whole point of control is to remove doubt.
Set a new precedent when it comes to privacy, and so if they didn't want to do it, I have full confidence that they wouldn't. I don't see anything wrong with the photo, especially for Catherine and William's children.
If doubt shows up anyway, it grows faster. One of the earliest talking points tied to Meghan's birth plan was the idea of a home birth. It fit the image: calm, intimate, we are doing this our way. Frogmore Cottage became part of the story people thought they were being told. But when the birth actually happened, the public narrative shifted. Instead of a home setting, reporting and statements at the time indicated the birth happened at the Portland Hospital in London.
And they delayed the photo debut by 2 days. Press and traditionalists criticized this as breaking with royal openness and accused them of controlling the narrative too tightly.
Again, hospital births are normal. The issue wasn't the hospital. The issue was the switch and how little explanation came with it. No simple plans changed, no doctor's advice, no tidy bridge from one narrative to the other. Just a pivot and then silence. And silence is like dropping raw meat into a pool full of sharks. The internet doesn't go, "We respect your privacy." It goes, "Okay then, what aren't you telling us?"
Was sort of expected ever since Princess Diana, who kind of made that a super iconic moment and picture. And Catherine looked fabulous each time. These are just such cute moments, and that people want to know that she's okay, they want to know that the baby's okay, and it was something that people really loved. When Diana did it, people were excited about it.
From there, online discussion got more intense. People didn't just talk about one photo, they talked about patterns, the way Meghan held her bump, how she moved in some clips versus others, how the bump appeared to sit differently across appearances close together in time. To be clear, pregnancy looks different on different people and even on the same person across different days. That's true, but the controversy wasn't built on one clip, it was built on repetition, and repetition makes people feel like they're watching a story being staged rather than lived. Then came the bigger fuel, claims online about leaked schedules, appointment logs, or internal notes that supposedly contradicted parts of the public timeline.
I actually see zero issue with Meghan and Harry waiting 2 days to do the photo op and changing the photo op in terms of its dynamic, location, timing, etc., because they're a little bit closer to Princesses Eugenie and Beatrice rather than...
These things circulate in gossip spaces all the time. Sometimes they're real, sometimes they're fan fiction with a printer. But here's what matters. Once those claims entered the conversation, they became a reference point that people kept returning to, especially because there was no clear, direct rebuttal that shut it down for good. This is where Piers Morgan steps in, because for him, controversy isn't a fire, it's central heating. In his framing, this wasn't just messy PR. He pushed the idea that the Sussex pregnancy narrative looked produced.
Tense like this before, and somehow I remain resolutely uncancelled. But because in the end, I was required to apologise for disbelieving Meghan Markle.
Managed like a rollout, and that certain details didn't align cleanly when you lay them out side by side. He also leaned into the receipts-style presentation, papers, timelines, clips, dates, comparisons. The vibe was, I'm not just giving an opinion, I'm showing a case. And that's why his segments go viral, not because everyone agrees, but because the packaging signals certainty. One of the most explosive claims in this whole universe is the idea that there were multiple versions of birth announcements prepared in advance. Now, on one level, that's normal. Big institutions draft statements for different outcomes. PR teams plan for scenarios. But critics frame it differently, like the public story wasn't a spontaneous life event. It was a scripted performance with multiple endings ready to go.
Proved themselves to be very difficult and very paranoid about their privacy. So I don't think it would have made sense or been reasonable for anybody to suggest to Meghan to do a photo op right after giving birth.
And then you had the confusion around early reporting and timing. Different statements, slightly different clocks, the palace and the Sussex camp not perfectly aligned. Most people shrugged it off as the usual royal comms weirdness. But when the audience already feels suspicious, even small inconsistencies get treated like evidence of something bigger. After that, the conversation stopped being just bump photos and turned into something more uncomfortable: trust. Because Meghan later described that period as emotionally brutal and isolating. She presented herself as unsupported, overwhelmed, and struggling inside an institution that didn't protect her.
She was accused of supporting someone who had said racist things. It's not racist to disbelieve Meghan Markle. I don't give a damn about her skin color.
Meanwhile, critics and commentators pointed to other reports and alleged behind-the-scenes accounts claiming palace staff were doing the opposite, rearranging schedules, handling last-minute needs, and trying to accommodate requests quickly. I'm not telling you which version is the truth. I'm telling you why this debate keeps returning, because the two narratives don't sit comfortably together, and people pick the one that matches how they already feel about Meghan. If you think she's been mistreated, the isolation story feels obvious and real. If you think she's a master of image control, the over-accommodated but still unhappy story feels more believable. Piers Morgan leans hard into that second interpretation. He argues that the Sussex brand runs on narrative management, and that the moment you apply pressure, the story shifts into emotional protection mode. And this is where he gets particularly controversial. He basically suggests that motherhood and pregnancy became a kind of shield in the public conversation. Not that motherhood is fake, but that it's powerful, culturally protected territory. Question it and you risk looking cruel. Ask for clarification and you risk being framed as attacking a woman during a vulnerable time.
In terms of status, line of succession, the birth of their children, had that wiggle room to do it a little bit differently.
His argument is that this dynamic can discourage scrutiny, even when scrutiny is fair. And if you believe Meghan's critics, they'll say that's exactly why the story got so heated, because people felt like they weren't allowed to ask obvious questions without being labeled monsters. Now, here's the part that really kept the fire burning: the lack of a clean, satisfying shutdown. No simple, direct, here's what happened, here's why plans changed, here's the timeline. No clear explanation that ended the debate for neutral viewers. And you can say they don't owe the public anything. That's a valid moral stance. But from a public perception standpoint, it doesn't work like that. Royals are basically living symbols. Their entire relationship with the public is built on ritual, optics, and trust. The moment trust wobbles, everything becomes a conspiracy to someone. And for people who expected Prince Harry, of all people, to aggressively push back against false narratives, his relative quiet on this specific topic felt noticeable. This is the guy who talks about media harm constantly, so when the narrative turns ugly and he doesn't crush it immediately, people interpret that silence however they want. Supporters see it as "we're above this." Critics see it as avoidance. Neutral people see it as weird. Then there's the Oprah interview factor. Piers has repeatedly criticized Meghan's interview style, suggesting it feels rehearsed, emotionally timed, and carefully delivered. That's not proof of lying because media training exists, and lots of people speak in prepared ways. But once an audience starts thinking someone is performing, every pause looks calculated, every emotional beat looks planned, and that's the real damage of over-curation. Even truth starts sounding like a script. Put all of this together and you get why this topic keeps trending. A tightly managed public image, a few inconsistencies that never got a satisfying cleanup, a public already split into protect her and expose her camps, and a commentator like Piers Morgan who knows exactly how to turn doubt into a spectacle. So the bigger story here isn't actually was it this or that. The bigger story is what happens when a public narrative becomes so controlled that people stop believing it's real. Because once credibility cracks, it doesn't fully recover. Every new statement gets doubted. Every future claim gets dissected. The benefit of the doubt disappears. And in celebrity and royal culture, the harsh truth is this: you can survive a scandal headline. What's harder to survive is a permanent suspicion that your story is always being edited. That's why this keeps coming back. Not because one clip proves anything, but because a lot of people no longer trust the storytellers. And Piers Morgan is happily standing there pouring gasoline on that distrust, smiling like he just discovered fire. If you want, you can end this video with a clean positioning line, like, at this point, the controversy isn't even about one detail. It's about whether the public believes the Sussex narrative machine at all. And once that question is out there, it never really goes away. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to subscribe. I'm new to this, and every like, share, and subscribe is very, very much appreciated. See you in the next video. Bye!